He believed that the tickets he bought put all of London in his pocket. The fat tourist brazenly climbed onto the royal guard's shoulders, convinced his own arrogance gave him the right to humiliate the guard. What happened immediately afterward turned out to be far more dramatic for that smug jerk than anyone could have imagined. London. The royal guard stands at his usual post. It seemed like an ordinary day, but today, among the motley crowd, there's one particularly special individual. With a heavy, unsteady gait, a large man approaches the guard, someone who, by the looks of it, could use a few more sizes around the waist. Even from a distance, you can tell he's terribly drunk. The stench of booze, mixed with sweat, practically overwhelms anyone who comes within a few yards of him. People reflexively step aside, not because he instills fear, but because it's impossible to stand near him without tears in your eyes. This tourist, judging by his swagger, is certain that anything goes for him in London. He mumbles something indistinct, occasionally letting out a loud belch and leaning against a nearby flower bed to keep from falling. People wince and step back because of his appalling mix of alcohol and arrogance. But the tourist himself seems to enjoy it. He spreads his arms theatrically, as if to say, "Hey, I'm the star here, clear the way." "All right, move aside, make way for the king," he proclaims sarcastically, giving the passers-by a mocking sidelong glance. "So, this is where those soldiers stand, huh? Ha ha." He smirks smugly, shifting his gaze to the guard. The crowd around him starts whispering about what's happening. But the guard, as usual, remains silent and unflinching. He tries not to react, as duty and tradition require. However, the approach of this boorish and foul-smelling king clearly spells trouble. Swaying, our hero walks right up to the small curb that separates tourists from the guard. Signs and tape around the perimeter clearly warn, "Do not cross this line." But what could possibly stop someone who's convinced he can do whatever he wants in a foreign country? "Hey you, soldier boy, you hear me? I said, look at me," shouts the tourist, letting out a heavy, loud belch. "What the hell are you standing here for, like a statue? I mean," he slurs, trying to find the words, but alcohol doesn't forgive attempts at clear thinking. "I mean, I brought money here. Without my money, you Brits would have been washed up long ago." Those gathered around mutter in disapproval. An elderly couple nearby shakes their heads disapprovingly, no doubt recalling a recent video about tourists where people overwhelmingly commented on the lack of respect for traditions and culture and on how shameful it is for tourists to behave like this. But the fat man won't quit. He decides that nothing will highlight his greatness like a photo taken while riding on the royal guard's shoulders. And so, staggering, he rushes toward the guard, trying to grab hold of his shoulder to climb up onto him. "Come on, pal. Help me out. Let's make an awesome pic for my followers. Think of how many likes we'll get," he shouts in a hoarse, smoke-roughened voice, trying to plant one foot on the ledge next to the guard. A few people in the crowd gasp. No wonder. Such behavior is beyond anything imaginable. The guard shifts his shoulder, preventing him from getting a grip on the uniform, and quietly but firmly repeats, "Step away from me, sir, immediately." However, the tourist clearly doesn't care. Despite the warning, he continues his feat with a smirk. After a couple of clumsy attempts, he's practically throwing himself against the guard with his whole body. The stench of booze grows so thick it feels like the air around them has become as dense as London fog. By regulation, the guard must not show emotion, but his arms are now tense. If this jerk doesn't stop, something truly unpredictable might happen. Amid this chaos, the climax is near. The fat tourist, roaring with laughter, once again tries to climb onto the guard's shoulders. He seizes the uniform jacket, yanks the collar, and even attempts to yank off the guard's hat. "What's with the formal act, huh? Come on, show me that fuzzy hat so I can squeeze it a bit," he declares with a hysterical giggle. "Just loosen up, will you? We're taking a photo, that's awesome." Noticing that the tourist has gone too far, the guard takes a deep breath. The traditions of royal service strictly require maintaining a cool head, but the existing rules also allow for defending oneself against aggressive actions. After all, the honor of the royal guard is no trivial matter. "Sir, step back immediately or I will be forced to take measures," booms the guard's commanding voice. That voice cuts through the air like thunder on a clear day. The crowd falls silent. In the comments under similar scenes, a real firestorm usually erupts. Some say, "The guard did the right thing." Others say, "The tourist had it coming. You don't pick a fight like that." Instantly, you can see the usual reaction from internet viewers. Polar opinions, heated debates, a storm of emotions. But the fat man is still drunk. He doesn't grasp that what's at stake here isn't just some prop costume, but a military uniform symbolizing British history and heritage. In his boozy frenzy, he yells, "Who the hell are you anyway? Get your hand off me. I paid for a ticket to London. You're my clown. Got it?" And then comes what everyone feared yet partially expected. The guard breaks protocol by moving from his post. With a swift, assured motion, he steps back, then turns to the attacker and sternly orders, "The man on the ground, cease attempts at aggression immediately." The tourist can barely think straight, but realization finally dawns on him that the guard can, in fact, act under the law. He tries to protest angrily, but his legs are already giving out, and he collapses onto the asphalt. Having fallen, the fat man swears loudly, trying to get up, but everything is spinning before his eyes. The crowd, intoxicated by the spectacle, is either snickering or heaving sighs of relief. It's clear the tourist got what he deserved. "You'll regret this," he wheezes, pointing a finger at the guard, though it comes off pitiful and ridiculous. In the next second, several police officers, drawn by the commotion, sprint over. Even though the guard deviated only slightly from the rules, no one doubts who's at fault now. Several witnesses confirm that the fat man himself lunged at the guard, tried to insult and humiliate him, and even attempted to climb on top of him for a cool selfie. "There he is, the real disgrace. People like him ruin the impression of tourists from other countries," exclaims one elderly Londoner. "Even online, everyone says you have to respect the guards. This is Britain's history and honor," agrees a woman who filmed everything on her phone. Realizing he's become a laughingstock, the fat tourist tries to slip away through the crowd, but the officers stop him. Amid jeers and whispered insults, he staggers toward the patrol car. As a parting shot, he lets out a loud belch and mumbles something about that soldier owing him a refund for his ticket. The royal guard slowly returns to his post, straightens his jacket, and once again stands in impeccable formation. The crowd breaks into applause. Someone tosses out, "Serves you right, you drunken slob." Many record the scene, ready to upload videos with clickbait headlines. There's no doubt that the comment section will soon be filled with more stories of how the royal guard is constantly provoked and disrespected, and how people fail to grasp the true value of tradition. When the police lead the tourist away, many in the crowd continue discussing the scene. By evening, social media will be flooded with clips and angry posts, ranging from sarcastic quips like, "Looks like someone had too much at the pub," to outraged cries of, "How can you be so disrespectful to the royal guard?" But on one point, commenters will almost certainly agree. This punishment is something the fat tourist definitely won't forget.